Well, we've just been listening to the Arcturians talk about how they're getting a free ride by Earth people ascending to apparently the fifth dimension, and they're going from the ninth to the 10th dimension. And my associates have been yipping about it and saying, it's really not fair. I mean, we're doing all the work down here on planet Earth, and, it's not easy. And all we get is, these non physical Arcturians going on about how I don't know what's the difference between the ninth and the 10th dimension, but the difference between the third dimension and the fifth dimension is a whole lot of a pain in the ass. I mean, I'm exhausted all the time. I've got aches and pains all over my body. I've got too many of these ascension symptoms. And then once I get to 5D, what have I got? Well, if it's anything like what I've got now, I can't afford to live on this planet because everything's too flippin' expensive. I'm not pleased. I'm not pleased. And, to have these extraterrestrials say, oh, well, you get to go to one higher level and we get to go. What the hell are they doing in order to graduate? I mean, I get a certificate that says I'm in 5D, but I got to live on the same damn planet, the same damn greedy bastards that are everywhere. Everything is bought and owned already before you even get born on the planet. And then by the time you figure it out, you're exhausted because you've been working so long just to try and make ends meet. And then these other beings in some other dimension are just riding a free rider along. They said, oh, the only reason that we do this is, we'll have to let you in on it, is that, there is a benefit to us. And, basically they're just crashing the party. They didn't incarnate here on planet Earth like the rest of us and have to deal with it. Wherever the hell they are, discarnate entities. It's very frustrating. We were talking about David Bohm's implicate-explicate order, and it basically says that everything is like pudding. It's pudding, and then you load the pudding up into a water pistol like pudding gun, and then you pump up your pressure in your pudding gun, and then you press the trigger and it sprays out pudding all over the place. So everything before it made a big mess was just a big tin of pudding, and after it's like you've got pudding all over the place. So implicate means it's just a tub of pudding, and explicate is a great big mess where you've sprayed pudding everywhere. That's as best as we can figure it out. But he says that quantum theory and relativity won't make sense unless you go back to the pudding analogy, and before you get to quantum and relativity, everything is just pudding. And it's all one thing. It's one big tub of pudding. No, he never said pudding, but we added pudding because we're more into pudding than trying to figure out all these algebras. It's been too many years since we did algebra, and when they start putting algebra on paper and all these little swirly symbols of differential equations and things, our eyes glaze over. And even when I tried to read them in Wikipedia, it's very difficult. It's too many words. He's very wordy, and we were saying, a good editor would eliminate a third of his words so that you could at least get what his point was. But he's like, so many extra words, and he's got run-on sentences. It's like he gives a whole thought, and then without even a period, then he goes and he says, oh, but rather this and that. And then by the time you get to the end of the paragraph, your eyes have glazed over again. I mean, words are very difficult to use to get ideas across. And if you're a poor speaker... Now, there was this other author who used David Bohm as a character in his book, and the book was called The Wave. His name is Lachlan Bloom. And I listened to a 5-minute interview with Lachlan Bloom, and again my eyes glazed over. Now, it's not even a new book. I couldn't get a Kindle. So I looked at it, it was going to be $25, and after listening to 5 minutes of Lachlan Bloom talk, it was just buzzwords, 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 buzzwords. And if the whole book is about, a big thick book this thick and it's nothing but buzzwords, I'm not going to pay $25 to try and figure out what the hell he's saying. If after in a 5-minute interview I can't understand what he's talking about. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I don't know. It's very difficult. Now, what else did we want to talk about? Less is more. Less is always more. It just means, and I've already been accused of making these videos too long. This is 6 minutes. So I'm going to cut you off here, and I hope, unfortunately I can't go back into the video and without redoing it from the start. And